Hello and welcome to Thornton.com. Hello and welcome to WarrenThornton.com. We are, as always, joined by the wonderful, on a Monday, the wonderful Paul Brooker from Brooker.tv, Viral TV, and the Charlie Ward Show. How are you, Paul? Are you well?
Oh, good evening, Warren. I'm doing very well, very well. I don't know. I'm just sort of plodding along at the moment. I'm not really sort of like worried. I'm not excited. Just seems very middle of the road at the moment. How about you?
Sailing along on a bed of comfort. I was absolutely fine until we had a talk today. We had a friend of ours from, shall we say, very, very close to the White House, who is, shall we say, well, not the White House, the State Department would be the best way to describe it. And let's get into what he told us. And it's pretty much what we've been saying, but he has confirmed it. Marco Rubio is working against Donald Trump in the White House. And this is how he is doing it. Very, very simply, what happened? We had this wonderful peace plan from Donald Trump. Trump saying that, there's got to be some give and take. So let's go through this with Paul, because the very first thing was in Alaska, Trump and Putin had a meeting. Trump basically wanted Putin to be a little flexible, and Putin said, as long as we have our three main objectives, which are, of course, denazification, demilitarization, and no Ukraine in NATO, we are prepared to be flexible on other areas. They were waiting for America to come back to them on this. And what happened was Trump's team took that to Zelensky. Zelensky refused it left, right, and center. Then, of course, they were able to, and of course, America knew already that there was scandals regarding money and, shall we say, cash and golden toilets and all the rest of it, but missing money that was going somewhere it shouldn't have done because loads and loads of times. So they were able to use this as a lever to meet with Zelensky and discuss a 28-point peace plan. Now, first of all, Trump's people were telling him, Kellogg was telling him, Rubio was telling him, and the CIA director, we are now confirmed that the CIA director and Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, were all telling him the same thing, that the war in Ukraine was going pretty okay. They were up against it. There were some difficulties. Trump has since found out and of course we had the Rubio phone call with Lavrov that then cancelled the proposed meeting in Budapest because Russia would not accept a ceasefire. Okay, so that's where we were. The Americans since then, Trump has had proper information given to him, and he's turned around and said, look, this is a peace plan that we had thrashed out, or we'd certainly looked at it. Now, there's lots of people, including Megan Moods, who is Kellogg's daughter, coming out and saying it was a Russian plan, it was written in Russian. It's all nonsense. The peace plan was put together by Witkoff. It wasn't put together with any Russian involvement whatsoever. Let me make that absolutely clear. And the Russians have now received a draft of the peace plan that they put forward. But since then, what we've had, when that peace plan came out, the Russians looked at it and said, yes, that's probably a proposal we can work with. It does need some discussion, but there's a plan there. Then, of course, the Europeans, Paul, and the Ukrainians went completely potty over this peace plan because it included denazification, it included demilitarization, and everything that the Russians needed, but it also had a lot of stuff like ceasefires and stuff like that in it that obviously the Ukrainians wanted. The Ukrainians also, Umarov then saw the peace plan and put in a complete amnesty for anybody breaking the law in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to finish this first, Nicholas, and then I'm going to get Paul, then I'll let you in. So what we have from our guy who is literally in the State Department, he has turned around and said that the Europeans and the Ukrainians especially, the Ukrainians were the first ones with the European backing, asked for, when they were meeting Witkoff in Geneva, they wanted Rubio to go because Rubio is their man, their guy. And ever since what's happened there over the 2 days of discussions is that Rubio has sat down with the Ukrainians. They have thrashed out another part of the peace plan, which of course is destroying the original peace plan that Trump and Witkoff put forward. Remember that Rubio didn't know anything about this peace plan until right at the last knockings, and literally the Ukrainians asked for Rubio to be part of that group of people going across to Geneva. Rubio's coming out and saying all sorts of things, sort of good things, Paul, and of course it is complete nonsense. Have a little look at this because this is Rubio on damage control. Have a listen.
We will come back to you later tonight, and maybe at that time be able to answer maybe some of the specific questions that you have. But let's get back to work, and we'll be back to you pretty soon. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Working on.
So what we had was a meeting. That was Yermak that you saw standing there as well, and of course Yermak is very much down the line of being in trouble as well in terms of money laundered.
So it is in my personal view that we've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process since we've been involved in from the beginning. We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now point by point, and I think we've made good progress.
We can tell you that before we go to Paul, we can tell you that Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham and Susie Wiles were in a phone call earlier on yesterday to sort out what they were going to do and how they were going to approach this thing. So the idea is to scupper the peace deal so that it looks absolutely terrible, take it to the Russians and go, look, the Ukrainians have made these concessions, and then be able to go that Putin didn't want peace, okay, so that they can continue the war. And of course, Trump doesn't, but we are absolutely adamant on this point. Trump has asked Witkoff to secure a peace deal and to get this done by Christmas. Rubio is there to scupper it. Lindsey Graham, Rubio, Ratcliffe, Susie Wiles, the Ukrainians and the Europeans do not want the peace deal that was on the table. They want Russia to pay for everything. Paul Brooker, your thoughts on all of this?
Well, just when I thought there was progress being made, the Ukrainians decide to pull a hoolie. You know, there was some form of a deal, which was the deal that you said would happen months, if not a year ago, Warren. Donbass is gone. Forget about it. You're not keeping it. Full stop. The borders are going to stay exactly where they are. And guess what? The US, well, I'm not sure. You might have said Europeans go in as peacekeepers, but it's US now that are going to go in on the border as peacekeepers. Obviously, there is massive talk now about $50 billion going missing. Zelensky's potentially going to get investigated. So straight away, he is not going to want that peace deal through because people are going to start asking major questions. We've got fortifications that never got built, but the money was taken. You've got all sorts going on here. And dare I say it, it sounds like this peace deal is getting changed on the sly and then getting slipped in front of you, praying that you're going to sign on the bottom without checking it. That's the sort of sneaky tactics we're seeing from Ukraine now. And dare I say it, maybe a few European leaders throwing their noses in as well.
Yes. And just before we go to Nilis, Tusk has turned around. Donald Tusk has turned around and said it's a completely unacceptable peace deal. Of course, he's the president of Poland. The whole of the Western media are up in arms about many people are getting upset. And we had this today posted by the Ukrainians. Let's have a little look here. So these were part of the group of the Ukrainians who decided to have the talks with Rubio. Ukraine discussed every point The proposed plan with the US, the 28-point plan, as everyone saw it, no longer exists. Some of the points were removed, some were changed. Not a single comment from the Ukrainian side went unanswered. Final decisions on the most problematic issues will be made by the president. Conspiracy theories are many more times more than reality. The friendly ipso has traditionally worked. Someday I'll write my memoirs how the delegation waded through the thicket of manipulations so this meeting would not take place, would take constructively, blah, 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 and all the rest of it. The Ukrainians and Rubio have sorted this out, and now they're going to present this as a fait accompli, not only to Donald Trump, but they're also going to produce this to, shall we say, the rest of the world. Now, behind the scenes, it says that obviously during the meeting, the American side accused the Ukrainians of leaking negative details. The Ukrainians did leak this peace deal. When it was sent to them, they leaked it. It did not have any input whatsoever from Russia. So anybody telling you that is lying through their teeth. Let's hear from Nilus, and then we'll go back to Paul Brooker for some more thoughts on this. Nilus. Nilus, you had your hand up, buddy? No? Looks like Nilus hasn't got his hand up anymore. Paul Brooker, your thoughts?
Well, we know Ukraine are going to do everything in their power to tank this. I'm sure they probably didn't even leak the original deal. It was some twisted variation, because if you can get public sentiment stirred up enough, they won't digest it. They won't be able to handle it. And quite frankly, we can see they cannot handle a peace agreement. They can't handle peace before Christmas. Putin is just sitting back going, look, when you boys are serious, come and talk to me. Because right now, US is talking to Ukraine. Ukraine aren't really playing ball because they know the jig is up the moment peace is signed. Fair elections, come back to that country. I say fair elections, let's be fair. Are they really going to be fair? No. Zelensky will be out in the first election. There's no way he'll stay in. And then all the powers that be start changing hands, and then people start pointing fingers.
So there we go. That was a picture of, and great comments there, Paul, because you're absolutely right on a couple of those points. So we're going to tell you what has been changed here. So, Paul Brooker, there are the peace plan, obviously, the 28 points that were put forward. No elections after 100 days. So there are 28 points that the US had. There were 24 that came back from Europe, basically an absolute nonsense of a peace plan. Was basically designed to carry on the war, basically blaming Russia for absolutely everything. And of course, nobody took any of their nonsense seriously. There's their 24-point plan there. Ukraine membership is in NATO, depends on consensus within the alliance. Now, that is one of the things that they wanted changed, Paul Brooker. The Ukraine membership, as far as they're concerned, they are not going to say no to NATO. They want to decide whether or not they will be in charge. The minerals deal, or the deal, sorry, for the frozen Russian assets money, with half the money, with the profit, half the profits going to America, that has been taken out. No Nazism has been taken out. As I say, the 100 days, and also taken out of that of the deal. And we can tell you this because we know there's lots of people speculating what it might be. Zaporozhye nuclear power plant reverts to American control, Paul Brooker.
That's an interesting point there on the nuclear power plant, because that has been a big bone of contention throughout this whole war. Is it just a nuclear power plant? I'm sorry, but it just seems like it's, to the point that Ukraine were willing to blow it up. I mean, you don't blow up a nuclear power plant for giggles. You just don't. No. Now, the fact that they want it handed over to the US, not going to happen. Putin's not going to allow that to happen. He's going to want to keep hold of that. All day long, he's going to want to keep. Because then he's got another chip on the board, hasn't he? You can control the power to Ukraine. Who wouldn't want to hold a nuclear power plant? Yeah,
absolutely. So let's get through this then, Paul. Before we get into your stories, because we just want to give everybody a full update. Ukraine's sovereignty, but the 28-point peace plan was Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed. that they're happy with that. A full and comprehensive non-aggression agreement will be completed between Russia and Ukraine and Europe. All ambiguities over the last 30 years will be considered resolved. They're okay with that. It is expected Russia will not invade neighbourhood countries and NATO will not expand further. They were not okay with that. A dialogue, they were okay with the first bit. It's expected that Russia will not invade neighbouring countries. A dialogue will be held between Russia and NATO with the mediation of the USA to resolve all security issues and create conditions for de-escalation. Ukraine will receive reliable security guarantees. They are okay with that. The size of the Ukrainian army will be limited to 600,000. They were not okay with that. They want 800,000, Paul Brooker, which is 10 times the size of England's army, of course. The next one, Ukraine agrees to enshrine in its constitution that will not join NATO, and NATO agrees to include in its charters a provision that Ukraine will not be admitted to in the future, is gone. NATO agrees not to deploy troops in Ukraine, is gone from that plan. So there we are. That's the 7 or 8 sort of things that they want doing. And also, as far as they're concerned, they don't want any demilitarization. They want to be able to buy whatever they want from whomever, whenever they want.
They won't allow that, Warren.
No.
Russia won't allow that. They're not going to let Ukraine stock up on fancy toys on their doorstep, because that opens the Pandora's box to cruise missiles, to long-range deep strike capabilities. It opens it up to all sorts, chemical weapons, even though everyone says they're banned, they're not. It's just a Pandora's box that Russia won't stomach. They will not let Ukraine buy whatever they want. No way.
No, exactly that. And there is already nonsense out there. Lee Williams?
I was just going to say, is there anybody in the world that actually trusts NATO? Because,
No.
I mean, I don't know. I personally didn't vote them in, but, just as an idea.
Not if they've got any sense. And there you can see the problem. And there are many problems with this peace deal. There's huge problems with it. In that it's now been completely scuppered, Paul Brooker, and resembles nothing like. And in fact, Ushakov has already turned around and said that we look forward to what will be produced to us. He confirmed that they had not seen the original peace plan, even though Kellogg and his daughter were out there saying yes, they had. And many people were saying that a couple of people had actually seen this. Completely untrue. The problem that we have with this, of course, now is this is going to go nowhere. They are going to produce this as a sort of fait accompli to Russia, and Russia are just going to turn it down out of hand, Paul.
Absolutely, Warren. Absolutely. There'll be some original deal that Russia will want, probably that was put across the table at the beginning of the war with a few changes. And they will want the US to put pressure on Europe to make Zelensky stomach it. I mean, we say this all the time, but Russia's holding all the chips. Unless the US and Europe want to go into this, and we all know the US and Europe cannot fund a wartime economy. They're in tatters. They're in tatters. They won't be able to put the troops on the ground, bankroll it, and fight the war, because they've been corrupt for so long. All the money is sitting in a few private pots, and that's the biggest problem. It will destroy those countries. China will come in and start its, game plan, whatever you want to call it, Taiwan, Japan, whichever countries it wants, because the moment the US and Europe step into Ukraine, which they will not, going back to my early thing, which is they can't afford it. So Putin holds all the chips. It'll be on Putin's terms, Russia's terms, I should be saying.
Yeah. And here's the other thing, the last thing on this, before we go to Paul's stories, the BS nonsense about the meeting. There's nonsense already saying that America and Russia have disagreed, and therefore there's going to be no meeting, and they're going to have a secret meeting between the two sides. Of course, they're going to have a meeting because they've got to put the proposal to the Russians. Everybody knew there was going to be Axios, who will keep breaking these stories, And the final thing we're going to tell you is Axios are in bed with the State Department. When Axios come out with a news story, they are being briefed by the State Department, which is Marco Rubio and, of course, Tammy Bruce. Paul Brook.
Yeah, absolutely right, Warren. I'm not going to add much more to that because I think we've probably covered it in quite some depth now. Obviously, Armitage Shanks just asked, where's the $45 billion gone? Well, that's in a few houses that Zelensky owns, his mates. Basically, anyone who's helped him to, I don't know, put money in his pocket has probably got their own kickbacks. That's where 45 billion's gone. You don't buy houses in Florida for giggles.
No. I mean, basically what this is going to be is they're trying to get this to be another Minsk II agreement. The Russians are not going to fall for it in a million years.
No, they're not.
Nillis, very quickly. Nillis have his say, and then Paul's story.
That's 45 billion out of, is it 300 billion the West has given to Ukraine?
Yes.
Or is it 200?
It's 170 billion, isn't it, that's gone from European countries. But that doesn't include America. But here's the thing that we now know, that Russia had a meeting with the people, with the World Banks, and it is quite clear now that the nonsense that we've been hearing about this 330 billion, there is actually more in frozen Russian assets around the globe that they can get their hands on, not just Euroclear. And we'll tidy that up later because we've got a video on Euroclear to show you. But here's the thing. It is now come to light that the amount of money that is frozen in Russia that belongs to Europe is more than the frozen Russian assets. So this is why it is such a bad idea. We're going to go Lee Williams, and then we're going to go with Paul Brook.
Is Russia still in the money off Europe to do their sanctions and everything?
No, one of those. They're perfectly okay with the money that they have, but they have said to the World Bank that if Europe do this and they do try and nick all the money, Russia will take punitive action and take the money that is frozen in Russia, which is a lot more. Paul Brooker, your stories, dear sir.
Right, okay, first story, and I don't know if you covered this yesterday, Warren, you might have. Doge is gone in America. It's gone.
No, we haven't covered it. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a bit of music playing, but Doge quietly shuts down 8 months ahead of scheduled end. Now, this is an interesting one because I dug into this. What's happened is that the Doge department has been broken down into smaller chunks and they've directly absorbed them into the government departments. Now, the rumours are because they were getting sued by everybody and everywhere because of all the cuts that they proposed, made, you name it. It was not going well for Doge out there with the lawsuits and stuff because, you know, there are entire chunks of government getting laid off for no reason as far as they're concerned other than we don't need them anymore. So obviously lawsuits and things started happening. So now they've been folded directly into those agencies. So yeah, Doge is gone.
Well, Doge pretty much did its job though, didn't it? I mean, it cut off a lot of waste, didn't it, Paul?
It did, but the strange thing that I can't understand is the money was not being used to pay down the national debt. That's the bit I can't understand. And the fact that Trump's going to give everybody $2,000, potentially, I'm not saying it's going to happen. There are rumors it's a Christmas present. That money, every single person should be given that $2,000, but it should be done as an investment for anybody because that $2,000, yes, it's going to help the economy for a couple of months. But that money is only going to find its way into billionaires' pockets with a bit off the tax to the side for the government. So is $2,000 actually going to help anybody? It might do for a couple of months, but then it would be like you never got given it at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good call. Good call.
I've got a weird one. A strange, potentially non-existent flower has been found.
What?
Biologists find one of the world's rarest flowers
okay.
after 30
We did it. We found it. We found it, my friend.
makasih Pak Iwan. Allahu Akbar, Allahu
We made it.
Akbar, ya Allah.
We made it.
Besok pasti saya ngisi MMP dulu.
It's like something you'd expect from Jurassic Park.
Well, it looks like something out of Day of the Triffids, doesn't it? I've got to say, I can I just say an absolute congratulations to the guy who found it, because to be that passionate about your subject is quite incredible. Let's hope it doesn't turn into Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Definitely. Well, do you know what? It's wonderful to see, because we do hear a lot about species dying out. We hear a lot about that, you know, this animal's gone, that plant's gone, etc. So it's nice to think that there are still pockets of these things out there.
Yeah, and it is so nice to see somebody so passionate and so into his subject that finding a plant that he thought was not there, that was extinct or whatever, the first one found in 13 years. Fantastic. Let's hope that they cultivate that now, or take clippings or whatever it is these people do, and make sure that this flower survives.
Absolutely, Warren. Absolutely. Well, going back over to the UK now.
The government has announced a new national day to honour and remember victims and survivors of terrorism in the UK. The event will take place on the 21st of August in a different location across the country, first held in 2026. Families and survivors of those affected by the Westminster Bridge and Ariana Grande Manchester Arena attacks, which were both in 2017 and are among the worst attacks in the UK in recent years, have been calling for a national day to honour the victims and survivors, and also educate the next generation. The chosen date coincides with the United Nations International Day of Remembrance and tribute to the victims of terrorism, which began in 2017. The government announced a new national.
Okay, I've got a bit of a thing about that. First of all, why do we have a monument for this? I'm a little bit worried that this is a bit of a political tool rather than something that, should we
Something
say,
doesn't feel right, does it? It doesn't feel genuine.
No, it doesn't. It feels political. And secondly, Paul, when you consider that they're going to have this monument to terrorism or whatever, but they're doing nothing to stop terrorists coming across our borders.
There you go, Warren. I mean, they're talking about having a day of remembrance for all victims of terror attacks.
So,
and I just don't know, Warren. I just don't. I can't put my finger on why this just doesn't feel right. Don't get me wrong. I think we should remember, so then people actually understand that people do die in terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
But as you rightly said, when they're not stopping terrorists coming into the country, how can we do that justice?
Yeah, exactly that. It seems like a political sop to people's conscience, doesn't it? Nillers.
Well, these terrorist attacks, 7/7 especially, 9/11 in America, have got direct links back to the intelligence services. And if we look at the Manchester City arena bombing, who made that bomb? It's a very sophisticated bomb. It couldn't have been homemade, they say.
Yeah, it's not like the IRA mixing up, C4 in a saucepan in Bayswater, is it? It was a proper bomb.
Yeah, so there's lots of questions which haven't been answered, and it's a bit like these public inquiries.
Yeah,
we haven't had the real research on what's been undermined, what's been behind these bombings. And as we know, those people who they've said have done these bombings, they've been used by the state to undermine the countries in the Middle East as well.
but it's not just bombings, though. Good points, well made. Thank you for that, Nicholas. It's not just bombings, though, Paul, is it? Look at Axel Rudy Cabana. That was an act of terrorism.
Yep.
Now, we're talking about having a monument when Keir Starmer could spare no more than 19 seconds to place a wreath and then bugger off again. The whole thing seems a bit like a sop to a conscience, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what I really wanted to hear was we're going to have a day of remembrance and we're going to do more to stop this. There
Yeah.
should have been an entire bit on the end of that, which is this is the plan to stop this happening in the future. Because I'm sorry, but I walked into my daughter's school today to pick her up. It looks like a friggin' prison now. We've
Wow.
got key entry locks on every gate, everything like that. We didn't need that when I was a kid
Never
growing up.
like it. No.
Schools
No.
look like happy places. Now they look like prisons. And when you talk to people and you go, this isn't right, this isn't how it should be, well, they're like, well, there is a lot of things going on out there. And I'm sitting here going, wait, you think that's normal now? You
Yeah.
think a terrorist attack is normal, part of everyday life?
Yeah,
What
exactly. I
planet
mean,
do you live on? How have
no.
they managed to program your brain that that is normal, a terrorist attack? No, it's not normal at all.
No, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Let's hear from Louis Bastos, and then I'm gonna tell you something that we used to do when we were kids. Louis
Hi, good
Bastos.
morning. Hi, Paul. In South Africa, I lived in South Africa from 1968 to 97, and even our windows had grids. Our
Yeah,
windows, our gates were electronic, with electric devices to shock anybody who came to the gate. We had dogs. We had England's becoming like South Africa in the days, even post Mandela. It's exactly the same. You cannot walk in the street. You cannot leave your windows open. You cannot leave your gates open. I had two friends of mine who had a delivery van. 6 o'clock in the morning, they came to him. They said, "Leave. We want your van. Get out." He got out, gave them the van, and they shot him dead. I know it from his family, and this is South Africa now. Since I lived in South Africa, it's been like this. You have to put what do you call it? Grids on your windows, grids on your doors. You got to make everything. What do you call it? Alarms and all this kind of stuff. England's becoming the same as South Africa.
yeah. See, here's the thing. Thank you very much for that, Louis. Here's the thing, Paul. Now, I'm just going to tell you exactly what used to happen. With the childhood, we used to literally bunk out of school at lunchtime with our dinner money. This is how old I am. We go and buy 10 number six and a can of Coke and a pasty, all for 25 pence, which decimalisation was just up then. But you went down the town and you bought a pasty and maybe, a packet of smokes because you couldn't smoke in school. But, many people did in those days. But you were perfectly safe. You went down the town with a couple of mates or whatever. You were never in any danger, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody knew each other downtown as well. We didn't have the massive movement of people like we do now.
No.
You know, when you look at it sounds really strange, but when you look at the old terraced houses, the fences were 2 foot tall.
Yeah.
They were 2 foot tall between the terraced houses, and this is like a row of houses, all the garden shed.
Yeah.
When did we start needing 6 foot fences to protect us from our own neighbours? When did we need that?
Certainly no good when I was a kid because we used to get in trouble for holding a grand national over the fences. We'd bunk the last day of school. We'd have a grand national over the fences. People get decapitated by washing lines, fall into people's ponds and all sorts. But it was part of being a kid. Now you can't do that. I mean, God, you get ripped to bits by some huge, 3 or 4 pit bulls because people are keeping them because they're scared in their own houses, Paul.
Absolutely, Warren. Absolutely. And it is time we deport all criminal illegal migrants. Full stop.
It shouldn't even
Starts
be
with that.
Paul, it shouldn't even be a discussion, should it? If you're illegal, I mean, if you're a criminal in this country, lock them up. If you're a criminal from another country, send them home. Lock them up and then send them home straight away. It shouldn't even be a discussion.
No. And you can't fix other countries until you fix your own doorstep.
No, exactly.
I mean, the fact that we're even trying to throw money at other countries, going, "Let us help you," because we're the pinnacle of of
Yeah.
society. No, we're not. We're all just helping money laundering. Basically, you've just got to look at who do they need to pay off in these other countries. Well, they need to pay off Zelensky, and that money needs to then funnel back round to them somehow through whatever madcap corporation they're involved with abroad. That's
Here's,
it.
here's the thing, Paul, and I think you're absolutely right here. Um, if you got now, if you import third world people, you import third world problems. Now, that's not calling them horrible or being racist in any way. Let's raise them up in the country that they live in, so they're first world people. Yes, and then when they
Yep.
do come here, they know how to behave correctly, rather than go around and start pestering women at bus stops and stuff, and stealing out of shops.
Absolutely, Warren. Absolutely. Fix your
Not
own
difficult.
doorstep first, then
Yep.
spread out to the rest of the world. Unless
Not
there's an
difficult.
ulterior motive or some sort of sinister plan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt that there is, because common sense here is not being used. Sean Murphy.
Well, the thing is, I dare say in some of these countries there are a lot of decent people who want to live in their own country of birth. Unfortunately, there are a lot of criminal elements that these governments from these other countries deport, basically, because that's what they're doing. They're deporting their
Yes,
own
yeah.
people into Europe and into like this country because they know this. They all come here because they know they get money for nothing and a roof over their head and they're treated really nicely. But a lot of them are here because they are not wanted in their own countries. They
No.
are criminals in their own countries. They are the dross in their own countries.
That's
And
why they're
the
dropping their
governments there
passports
do not.
off.
Yep.
That's right. And their governments do not want them there. They want
Well,
them out of the way. They want them to come to the UK
yeah.
or Europe.
He has a point there, Paul Brooker, because we were just talking basic common sense there, okay? And there's no question that basic common sense is not being used, so therefore there has to be a reason. If there's a reason, then there's an agenda, and the agenda seems to be population replacement.
100%, Warren. Also, to keep the poor poor. If we're all stabbing each other, beating each other up, we're not looking at the rich, are we? While they're building their ivory
No,
towers, their emerald cities, where
no.
they're all hiding in. We're all just fighting each other for a loaf of bread.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Lee Williams, very quickly.
Is it anything to do with something what you'd call a trust fund? If I don't know about it, I do a little bit about it. But does it anything to do with trust fund from the people that was born in what they call the UK of Great Britain? Is it anything to do with that? Because
Not
once
with you.
they're
What do you
out,
mean trust fund?
trust fund, that's the weight of the person from the birth certificate that was obviously signed by the parents under obligation that they are a pair that rents the child. So from the child, the actual funds of that trust fund is not applicable until the age of 18. So
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is something much
Yeah.
deeper, Warren, than what we're talking about, what Lee's talking about.
Okay. Paul.
Right, on to my next story. Iraq. What is going on over?
Iraq, Jesus Christ. Iraq, what a fucking country. They've just lowered the marriage age from 18 to 9. It is now legal, oh my God, I can't cope, to marry a little girl of 9 years old. I need to sit down. I can't. My legs are like jelly. Who makes these rules up? Look at any of you out there that've got a 9-year-old. Just look at those little girls. Could be your grandchildren. 9 years old to a 50-year-old man. Well, 50-year-old PDF can marry a 9-year-old child. This is just wrong. What kind of people are making these decisions? is this religion? Is it? How is this okay in the 21st century, where in whatever country, Iraq? And don't forget, they're the kind of people that are coming over here on the boats. They're not all obviously from that country, but we've got those kind of men coming here that think it's okay to marry a 9-year-old, therefore have sex with a 9-year-old because it's your wife. I feel literally sick. I just cannot believe in these poor girls need saving from these maniacs.
Let's put this into perspective. Mo's made an excellent point. Saddam Hussein stopped this from happening when he was in power. Saddam Hussein turned around and said, "This does not happen." End of story. And this is a problem, Paul, isn't it? When you get, shall we say, people of fringe in charge of countries who decide to make all sorts of strange laws. If you think, and I'm not, having a go at any country here, with any country, if you think marrying a 9-year-old girl is okay, there is something wrong with you. That's it. End of story. And you need to be locked away because you need to be put in an institution where somebody can talk to you because your brain doesn't function properly. If you think having sex or having that sort of relations with a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old is okay, there is something seriously, seriously not right in your head. And it is not the rest of society to pander to you. Sean Murphy.
Well, just thinking about that, Warren, it doesn't seem to happen the other way around, does it? You don't have 36-year-old women who want to marry a 9-year-old boy.
No.
Nope.
No, absolutely good point. Nicholas.
Yeah, I was listening to Sheikh Imran Hussein, who's a very interesting Islamic scholar, and he was saying in the Quran it doesn't say that. It was the books around the Quran that said Muhammad married a 9-year-old.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And it's a bit like, it's the same as the Torah. The Torah says you can have, with Jewish Torah says you can have sex with a young girl, with a child of 3 years old. But in the in the Talmud it says that, but in the Torah, which is the book of Moses, it doesn't say anything about that. And it's a bit like these things are being pushed on into the religion. It's a bit like Protestantism as well. It's paedophilia is coming into the Christian church as well, and it's I think it's the religion of the future. They're trying to make a religion of the future, and as Mo said, these weren't the rules of when Saddam Hussein was the president of Iraq, and who got rid of Saddam Hussein?
Yeah, exactly. America. Lee William.
I was just going to say, it's just a thought in your head, a thought in my head, I should say. So if the person that wants to marry a 9-year-old, obviously he must have grandchildren, might be 10 or 15. Would it be okay if someone would go up to him and say, "Hello there, I'd like to marry your granddaughter,"
No,
age
of course
9?
it wouldn't.
Exactly.
No, of course it wouldn't. Here's a very, very simple thing. I don't care whether a book out there turns around and says you can do that. This is what happens when you take as the word of God a book written by a human. Okay? Paul Brooker.
I think it's just more and more I see now, the people who get things done are either far right or far left. They're the ones that are so motivated because they think that they're right. And this is another prime example. Well done to the USA for freeing Iraq. Look what you've gone and done. You've just sacrificed an entire, generations of young girls to pedos. Well done.
Exactly that. When you go to Iran, you go and see the Ayatollah in Iran. They don't allow that there, Paul.
No. And how can these soldiers who went there, killed all the Iraqi military, killed Saddam Hussein, how can they now hold their heads high, come back and say, yeah, we fought for freedom. Now a load of 9-year-old girls are being raped. Because that's effectively rape in my eyes.
Yeah, exactly that. But it's always the same. We always go somewhere and then we call it, when we overthrow their government of another country, and we call it freedom and democracy. Yeah, our version of democracy and their freedom disappears. Nilus.
Well, exactly the same things going on in Syria with the
The Alawati. Yeah, I mean, we showed that.
Yeah.
We showed that this morning. We showed children being taken away in cages because they were of a different religion to be executed. Unbelievable. And we are meeting this guy, and that goes for Trump, Starmer, Putin. Everyone is shaking hands with this murdering psychopath.
Yeah, I remember I read a book on one of the Yazidis girls that was taken prisoner by these ISIS people in Syria, and they just said a prayer with them, and they made them their wives, and they were raping them at 9 years old. Yeah, and because they weren't they're sort of Muslims.
Now, let's just put it this way. If you are one of those scumbags who's going around doing that sort of murdering and everything else, no leader, no world leader in his right mind should be meeting with them. I don't care what they're up to. Paul Brooker.
Right, okay, on to my next story. Let's go back to the UK. Lawless UK is reigning supreme. So much so, you now bring your own biffa bin when you rob a shop.
Oh, what?
He's filled fucking wheelie bin up and he's gnashing. Fucking hell, man. Game bastard. He's filled it. He's filled it with fucking stuff off at the shelves and he's trying to nash, look. 3 of them. Look at him. Fucking hell, game bastards.
Well, you see, what are they doing, letting these people walk out of the shop? You know, I'm not being funny. If I'm what's the point of having a security guard? What am I paying you for if you don't protect the goods?
They're a deterrent, not an actual security guard. They're not even, I don't even think they're called security guards, Warren. Like peace officers or something stupid like that. But there's 3 burly men there that could have easily stopped him. Yeah. But because of the corporate woke philosophy, all they could do is say, please don't take it. Please don't take it. How unmanly do you feel when you're saying that to somebody? I mean, come on. Let's talk some common sense. The problem is, though, the moment they lumped him, they're the ones in the wrong, protecting their own property. And if that company had any sense, they would back them up if they did it. And I'll tell you right now, their sales would go through the roof because I'd buy from a company that supported its staff in protecting its property.
100%. I mean, me personally, you imagine if that was your own personal shop. Turn the security camera off. Somebody's about to have a very harsh lesson here. Nilus.
Well, I think it's probably got something to do with the digital ID, and they're letting people do this. So people get really fed up with it and they say, what can we do about it?
Yeah, it could well be, yeah.
If we had a digital ID, we wouldn't let, because if you notice, most supermarkets now have gates there. Most products are behind doors. And I know there's a few futuristic shops. I know Sainsbury's got one in London where you've got to have your mobile phone, and that lets you into the shop, and everything you put everything in your basket and you walk out the shop and your mobile phone. You don't even have to go to the cash register. Your mobile phone does it all for you. But the thing is, somebody can steal your mobile phone. So if you had that chip implanted with your digital ID into your hand, for example, or your forehead, that's what they want in the future.
Yeah, could well be right. Lee Williams.
Is it anything to do with the fact that it's cold? But is there anything to do? They're on £12.50 an hour. Is it worth their life?
Yeah, exactly. No, you could well be right there. But here's the thing, and of course, security guards get paid absolute rubbish. Here's the thing, though. Very, very, very simple. You lock the doors, call the police, so they can't get out.
Not allowed to do that, Warren.
I would. Well, I don't care.
Ah, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to hold someone against their will. You'll be in more trouble because you've basically been held hostage. It's that bonkers, Warren. Honestly, and I
I
think
know.
Nillis is bang on the money there. They're bringing the streets to their knees. So we welcome digital ID with open arms when you can't even walk into a shop without tapping your pass.
Now,
It'd be like living in World War Two.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing that gets me, Paul, is when we were kids. Don't get me wrong, everybody stolen a penny sweet or whatever out of a jar or whatever, or maybe walked out of a shop with something that they shouldn't have done. But that was few and far between. You had kids doing that. Kids did that, and then of course they learnt the lesson because they got caught and they got punished. When people are allowed to do this, they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right, Warren. And I'm sorry, but if you nick something and the value of it is below £200, the police won't turn up. And I'll tell you right now, one thing we know, kids like to educate themselves on the fringes of the law to get away with what they want. Once the kids really pick up on this, shops are going to get turned over beyond belief.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're absolutely right. Barry Evans, who's burning the midnight oil with me. Barry?
Yeah, I think it's fairly obvious. They're trying to kill all the small businesses, the small shops, so that the big ones can get going. And if, so all the big supermarkets and all the rest of it, they may have the things, but they eventually, when everything settles down and they've got rid of all the small people or the small fry and they've all gone, and people have stolen from them and been allowed to, and nothing's been done, the big ones they're going to get richer, and poor are going to get poorer. This is exactly what they want.
Absolutely.
And Nillis is right, I believe, that it's another way of getting this digital ID, which is not the way forward. It has to go back to the old ways. You have to have a copper around who's willing to give you a clip's idea and not have all these do-gooders coming up. Well, they're not do-gooders, it's just idiots coming up and saying, "No, you can't do this, you can't do that." Did it stop him? Yes.
No, they do. Good point. Lee Williams, very quickly.
I was going to say, would it help if the security had guns on them, like in some countries?
No, I'll tell you what I'm doing in my shop. I am getting a 6'4", 250-pound man. I'm dressing him in leather shorts, putting a dog collar on him, chaining him to the counter and saying, "First person that steals out of the shop, you can get as friendly as you like with him." I'll tell you what, nobody will steal out of my shop. Barry Evans.
You don't get crap like that here in Philippines, do you? Because the security guards on the doors are okay, but they've got all their bits and pieces, but there's a guy outside with a gun.
He's got a shotgun. If you go into the mall, he's got a shotgun. I have never seen anybody arrested for stealing anything in the mall, ever.
No, I've not, and I've been here. You see all these people wandering about, and even all the people who are on the streets, they'll come up, they'll ask you for some money.
If he tells you, exactly,
don't steal it off you.
No, if he tells you to stop, you will stop because he will put you down.
Yeah.
Right, okay, on to my next one. We got to talk about the UK because they've been up to some sneaky shenanigans with the kids again.
Uh-oh.
So let's get this straight.
Oh my God.
The NHS trial would involve 226 children, a tightly monitored limited study, but now suddenly it's not 220,000 kids, and some of them are just 10 years old. That's primary school age, and we're talking about putting them on puberty blockers, a treatment with unanswered questions, long-term unknowns, and consequences we still don't fully understand. How did we go from caution to mass recruitment? Children are not test subjects. They're not data points in a political debate. They're not experimental material for theories adults can't agree on. When you expand a trial 13-fold, that's not careful science. That's using kids to figure out what might actually happen because no one actually knows. And that should terrify us. We should be protecting children, not rushing them into medical interventions we can't promise are safe. Real safeguarding means slowing down, demanding evidence and refusing to gamble with minors' bodies. Because if adults won't draw that line, who will?
Oh, that's puberty blockers. That's trans nonsense again. I don't care what anybody says. If you're putting people on puberty blockers to stop them, well, basically reaching puberty or whatever, or to change their DNA, how is the NHS allowing this, Paul?
Well, I'm surprised they're allowed to experiment on children in any way, shape, or form. And bearing in mind, I wasn't even aware they were doing this because America's reversing this as we speak.
Yeah.
But they first off, they had a trial for 250. They've now expanded it to 3,000. Hang on a minute here. Surely, don't you want to? If you're doing this as a real trial on the 250 kids first, you're going to wait until they reach adulthood, then give them a load of psychological exams to go, was this the right thing for you or wasn't this? You're not going to just ramp up to 3,000 kids with no caution whatsoever. I'm sorry, but if you're even going to do this, you're going to pay for psychological care for the next 20 years because you are experimenting. I mean, I'm totally against this, full stop. I do not believe for 1 second we should be giving puberty blockers to kids. When they turn 18 plus and they're deemed an adult, get your socks off, kids. Do whatever you want. You're an adult. I've done my bit. I got you to adulthood. I protected you. But when we as parents are not even going to be allowed to protect our own children, that quite frankly we worked hard for and we have paid for, you've got a real problem with me. Real problem.
Yeah, you have with me too. I'm going to say something here which is completely true. In the 1930s, when Germany were doing those horrible things to Jewish people, there was a guy called Dr. Mengele who was experimenting on children. This is no different. This is no different. He was a monster. What has changed where we allow monsters to legally run around doing this to children? Nillis, then Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I thought the Tavistock clinic had been found out and that it was all forbidden now, but I was surprised about what you were saying, yeah. And but it is the agenda, isn't it? It's the globalist, I can say satanic agenda, for the world, and
it's terrific.
It's
terrific.
I
End
think
of story. Anybody doing this to kids needs to be locked up, whether you've got a medical certificate or not. Sean Murphy.
Well, Warren, I think looking at it, it's extremely sinister. They see that they are failing with adults, getting adults to have all these different injections and vaccinations and jabs for this and jabs for that. So they want to further cull the population.
Yeah.
So there will undoubtedly, out of those 3,000, there will undoubtedly be many deaths through whatever reason because of these puberty blocking injections. So it's just a way of, if they can't cull the current population, they will cull the youngsters that will form the future population.
No, I'll tell you, I've got a much better idea. Let's let Eric Jones speak first. Eric?
Yeah, they've gone after the women and the children. They took they came after our women with the trans people, taking away our girls' rights to sports and to feel safe in restrooms, and then they've gone after our children, and it's all with the help of the left. If you think about it, you know, they pushed them right into it, and they've gone whole hard right for it. So I blame them.
Yeah, I'm going 100% here, Paul. I've got a wonderful idea, Paul. Let's not do it to 3,000 children. Let's get them puberty blockers, find 3,000 NHS doctors and feed them to them instead.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's exactly how it sounds. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted that they are willingly experiment on children. Willingly. Kids who basically flip on a coin toss whether they love you one day or hate you the next day. You tell me they are emotionally stable to make life-changing decisions. They're not even allowed to vote. And that was
No.
decided eons ago.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Exactly
sorry,
that.
but no. And then the parents to willingly let some doctors medically experiment on their children. They're the ones that need to have the children taken away from them.
They do. They need locking up. Lee Williams, very quickly.
I was just going to say, would it be a good idea to actually make, let's say, the PDF have to take these tablets after making an offence?
No, you could chemically castrate them and be a lot better. Here's the thing, though. Very, very simply, if you've got parents doing this, Paul's absolutely right. The children should be taken away and given to, you know what, people who can't have kids who desperately want them. Because you obviously don't want them because you want to change the gender or whatever, or you want to experiment. You want a doctor to experiment on your child. What is wrong with you? You are not right in the head. Paul Brook.
Oh, do you know what? And this is my own personal opinion, and obviously talking to people, talking to children, everything, it all comes down to attention a lot of the time.
Yeah.
These kids, they want attention. They want to feel special. And I'll tell you right now, if you looked in their homes, are they really loved? Are they really loved?
Yeah.
Because for them to make this sort of critical decision at such a young age breaks my heart. Because
Well, the fact
they don't know
that they
what's
can make it, Paul, is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. That is wrong. All day long, that is wrong. So yeah. But that's me all done for stories, Warren, and that's me time to go.
Paul, thank you very much for your time and your patience. Where can people find you on the many myriad of platforms that you're on?
I'll tell you what, if you go on brooker.tv, you'll find all my content there. And then that's got links to all the other places that I appear. But one of my favourites is coming on warrenthornton.com. So thank you, Warren, for having me on.
It's always a pleasure to have you on, buddy. And of course, please go and give Paul a like, go and give him a follow and subscribe as well, because it helps beat all the algorithms that try and stop you from actually getting the proper truth. Paul, once again, thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me. Bye now.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.